where we share everyday stories with you, everyday women. Are you ready to hear heart-to-heart key issues that we all face, no matter where we are in the world? So grab your cup of tea and let's welcome your host, author, international speaker, reinvention strategist, and woman that's full of faith in God and mankind, Dr. Zee Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to another episode of A Cup of Tea with me, Dr. Zee, your girl next door. I know I love calling myself the girl next door. I'm a woman, aren't I? I have to grow up. I feel a little bit like Peter Pan. I don't want to grow up. As far as I'm concerned, I am your girl next door. You're welcome to another episode 46. And boy, oh boy, are you in for a treat. You know, my next guest, another, I say this every week, another exceptionally special guest is an amazing woman. We like to call her Serene, and you'll understand after. She's very serene, very cool, calm, collected, soft-spoken, but full of power. And I can't wait to bring her onto the show. She's in the green room now, laughing, thinking, "What, Dr. Z, what are you saying now? Are you talking about me?" They always say this, but I can't wait to interview her. But let me tell you a little bit about her. Her name is... You have to wait. Let me tell you a little bit about why I do this. If you're a newcomer to the show, I'll tell you a little bit. This is a passion project of mine. It's where I spotlight amazing women all over the world, everyday women just like you and me, who are doing extraordinary things around the world, sometimes with short straws, sometimes with long straws, but they're doing extraordinary things. They've decided to take their lives, their examples, their mission, their experiences, to really move forward and take as many people as possible with them. Many people you may not know about, and some you will. But for me, it's just this opportunity to not just learn from other people's experiences, but be able to platform amazing women so that other women can see and feel inspired, feel empowered, feel heard, and feel seen. And so I'll come again. You're going to say, "Okay, Zena, can you just keep quiet? I just want to know who's your special guest is." All right. Okay. My next special, exceptional guest, like I said before, her name is Simone Smart. And she really is smart. She really is incredibly smart. She's a published book author. She's a writing coach. She's a proofreader and an editor. And she's a creative artist. She's also a voiceover artist. You'll understand why. And she produces and presents content on her YouTube channel on a wide range of topics, from health to current affairs. One of her many passions is now a service she provides by hosting book launches in person and virtually on her YouTube channel, proving that it's perfectly possible to turn your pain into purpose 100%. Now, let me give you a bit more about her. Her background, before embarking on this amazing feat, oh God, I'm getting all tongue-tied now. I need another cup of my tea, don't I? I hope you've got yours. What am I having today? I'll tell you, the box is a bit messy, but I'm having, if you can see it, masala chai. Absolutely brilliant. From India. Well, this is not from India. This is from my local Sainsbury's here in the US. Absolutely brilliant. I really recommend it. So as I was saying, before this amazing woman, this phenomenal woman, before she embarked upon a creative media career, she worked as a legal professional in the public sector for local government and in a quasi-legal capacity, providing advice to local politicians and residents. Let's face it, many of our local politicians, they do need advice, strong advice, but I'll leave that to Simone. She's also an expert in human rights law, and she was working on cases that involved the Hillsborough inquiry as well as the Mark Duggan inquiry or inquest. She also worked for intergovernmental agencies such as the Serious Fraud Office and the Commonwealth Secretariat. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about her advocacy and activism with regards to health. Now, answering the call to reach out to women suffering with the debilitating condition called, I can never pronounce this, endometriosis. And when she comes on the show, she'll pronounce it properly. Eh? She's shaking her head, so I think I missed it. Following her own battle with the condition, she felt compelled to create a platform to empower, share, connect, and inform and edify using the acronym ESCIE SS channel on the YouTube. Simone also shares her story in her chapter in the book called Navigating Life, which is an amazing anthology series. Education and economic empowerment. She volunteers as a judge. See, she's not veering away from the legal profession too much. At the Lex Lead, a charitable organization which helps to support economic development in some of the world's least developed countries. She also is involved in annual essay competitions and so much more. She's interested in sports. She's an adrenaline junkie. I don't like people like her because she's probably someone that would like to jump out and do power gliding and things like that, which I absolutely do not like, although I am very adventurous. So that's a part I hate about her. And she has gone to jump off different, I can even read it, fencing, swords, and paragliding and jumping out of parachuting. Her first jump was around 3 decades ago, 30 years ago, and she's still jumping now. And she's raised so much money for cancer research. She's also been up the hill, the Nevern in Salisbury. Now, I've done that. I've gone up a mountain, which is quite similar in Mount Malawi, Mount Mulunji in Malawi. But trust me, I will never, ever, 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 ever do that again. I'll leave that to the likes of Simone. She's also a bit of an actor or an actress, but I'll tell you a bit more about her when she comes on the show. I'm really, really excited about this one, really, really excited. So without further ado, I'm going to bring from the green room with music and drum rolls, the amazing, the phenomenal, the incredible Simone Smart, or Simone Sawyer Smart, or Simone Smart Sawyer, or Simone Serene Smart Sawyer. She likes S's. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be on here, Zena. It's a real honor.
Thank you so much. It's great to have you on the show as well. I am absolutely excited for today because I know that you've got so much to tell us, and I just want to suck in a positive way, suck the life out of you in such a way that women and men can really learn, how to take their pain. And look at her. She's got her pinkies out as well. I love it.
I was really taken by your choice of tea, Zena. I love masala chai. Chai tea is my favorite.
Absolutely brilliant. Really is.
The one you get in India is much better.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm so glad that you're here. And like I said, we're on episode 46. And today we're talking about the pain you don't see, advocacy, endometriosis, and the power of answering the call. Now I need to say that again. No.
Go for it.
I'll go for it. The pain you don't see, advocacy, endometriosis, and the power of answering the call. Wait. Welcome to the show. Yeah, got it.
Woo!
I've got a list. I've got all sorts of things, but no, I have to pronounce that. Now, Simone, welcome to the show. I'm absolutely honored and privileged to have you. I know how busy you are. I know how global you are, and I don't take it lightly when people come on the show. So I'm going to start by talking about the silent suffering. Let's start from that. The silent suffering behind endometriosis, because we know many people are going through it. I think in my stats, I think it was either 1 in 5 or 1 in 10.
1 in 10.
1 in 10. So I want to ask you a little bit, for those of us that don't fully understand what it is, can you paint a picture of what this is and how it first showed up in your life?
Yeah, sure. And once again, just very briefly, thank you so much, Dr. Z. It's a real pleasure and honor to be on your platform. Yeah, so endometriosis is a condition that affects 1 in 10 women in the UK. And just as you said, because there's so little known about it, that's what, in actual fact, adds even more to the problems that women face. So in my case, I right off the bat, once I started puberty, was when I started to experience excruciating, and I mean untold pain every time my period hit. So literally, when my period started, my life would stop. Cliche.
Wow.
Yeah, the pain was just out of this world. I'd miss time off school. I'd have to stay at home. Mum would mop my fevered brow, literally, because I was just fit for nothing. And that carried on throughout my adulthood when I started working. And unfortunately, it would mean that, I'd be taking time off of work as well. And that's because it manifests itself in the form of cysts, tumors, and it can form anywhere in the woman's body from the womb itself. Endometriosis actually comes from the term endometrium, which is the lining of the womb. And it's because the lining of the womb, for some unexplainable reason, which even the doctors haven't quite figured out yet, bits of the lining of the womb attach themselves to different parts of the woman's body, her bowels, her fallopian tubes.
Wow.
It's even been found in some cases to attach to the woman's brain, lungs, all sorts of, wherever you can imagine, it's possible. In my case, it was mainly the bowels and around that region.
Wow.
And so, yeah, every single month, the pain was just horrendous. Now, the issue with that is because it happens around the time that the woman's menstruating, it's very easy to have, they just had a lot of misconceived ideas that it must be because.
Yeah.
And that's what was the issue with me. And all the doctors I went to see, both here and, when I lived abroad, would literally just fob me off with, oh yeah, women's trouble, just take a couple of paracetamols.
Wow.
Well, let me tell you, Zena, at the height of my pain, when it was really bad, I was on morphine. That's the level of intensity that we're talking about. Yeah.
Wow.
Unfortunately, I went for 16, 17 years before they eventually had a diagnosis. So you can imagine that period from when I started my period, when I was about 11, right through to the age of 27, 28, I had no idea what was wrong with me. I felt like I was some kind of hypochondriac. I'd often be asking girlfriends, you know how it is when you're a young girl, maturing, becoming a young lady. And I'd be saying to girlfriends, when you have your periods, do you have all this untold pain? And a lot of my girlfriends, bless them, were like, I don't even know when my period starts. What are you talking about? So this just used to make me feel even more isolated, confused, dare I say depressed, even though at the time I may not have recognized it as, feeling down, feeling what have you. And so, yeah, ironically, when I eventually got that diagnosis 17 odd years later, it came as a relief, believe it or not. Just knowing that, there's some power in labels, just knowing that, okay, this is an official diagnosis. I wasn't making it up. There's a reason why I'm struggling with things.
Yes. I can appreciate that. And I'm really, I'm sure I speak on behalf of, listeners, those that are listening now and those that will listen on the replay. I'm really sorry that you had to experience that. I cannot even begin to imagine. I remember, having periods and not wanting to go to school or to wash the windows or do any household chores. But my mom would say, no, periods are not sickness and all that. But I cannot even begin to imagine the pain, the untold pain that you must have gone through. And many women listening now, or friends or family members, are going through even right now as we speak. In the UK, for it to be 1 in 10, that's pretty serious. That's pretty serious.
It is. It is.
Good.
And I mean, yeah, the height of it, one of the, I don't know if you'd say a good thing that came out of it, I actually got quite connected with the charity organization, Endometriosis UK, I think they were called back then, or the National Society of Endometriosis, then now Endometriosis UK for, viewers who might be wanting to get information, help, support. And yeah, for a period, I would, reach out to women. I got involved with politics, got involved with, lobbying members of parliament, had an audience with Diane Abbott at one stage while she was in power, just to try and get it on the map because it's not considered a sexy illness. And women often think that because it's not something that affects a man, for instance, it's this kind of hidden disease. We talk about the silence behind the pain.
Yeah.
And so not realizing that it affects them in different ways, if not directly, indirectly. So not being able to go to work, if you kind of replicate that across 1 in 10 women, however many millions in this country, it has a huge impact, right? On society, economics, etc., etc. Not to mention the way it affects the woman personally, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So yeah, there was a lot of that was done behind the scenes just to try and get things back on the map so that the powers that be can take it seriously.
I thank you so much for expanding upon that. That just leads me on to a very fundamental question, Simone, and that is, what have been or what were your biggest challenges with getting diagnosed? And what impact, so it's a double-barreled question, and what impact, because you've touched on it a little bit, but I want to kind of delve even deeper, what impact has it had on you emotionally, physically, and spiritually in terms of your well-being?
I suppose the biggest challenge was the lack of awareness, especially on the part of the medical professionals. So obviously when you have any kind of health condition that you're dealing with, the first thing you want to do is get guidance and help and support from your doctors, right? And if the doctors didn't even have a clue if they don't even know this is what I was told, then how are they going to know how to cure? That was the issue. So I had some who were just frank and would just say, sorry, we don't really know what we're dealing with. Or there were others, maybe through pride and what have you, would just fob you off. Oh, what you're talking about must be period pains. Just take these painkillers, fine. And that just masked the problem. So all the time I was taking those painkillers. I was even put on the pill at one time. Can you imagine? I remember this was, I was still a young lady. There was no reason for me to be on the pill at that stage. But again, it's a way of masking the problem, because what it does is it makes your periods less intense, regulates them. And that means that it takes away some of the pain, but it wasn't with the issue. And I couldn't stay on the pill forever, obviously. And once I came off, the pain just came back with that.
Wow.
So that was majorly frustrating. It was a major challenge. The impact, as I mentioned, it affects you on so many levels. Physically, obviously, when you're in pain, you can't do anything. I would literally have to hibernate for a good few days, sometimes a week or so. The periods would be heavy and painful. It affects your social life. The number of times I'd have to make excuses to friends, partners at the time, what have you. And mentally, obviously, it has a knock-on effect. So yes, I did have my down days. Emotionally as well. We just, when it got really bad, Zena, when I ended up in hospital, so I'd often say, at best, it was when I would have period pains, dreadful period pains every single month. But somehow, maybe I'd stagger into work or school or what have you. At worst was when the pain got so bad that I couldn't even get out of bed. And then I ended up, because it was so intense, I then had to be rushed to hospital, to accident and emergency on several occasions. And it was, I remember, I think, on the third occasion I'd gone in, within quick succession of each other, being spotted by a doctor who had seen me several times before. And he kind of said, why are you here? I've seen you several times. What's going on? So he was the one who stuck his neck out and insisted that I have that I had a laparoscopy, which is keyhole surgery, to see what was going on, and they were hoping that they could actually sort it out then. But it was when they looked through the camera that they could see it had just spread everywhere. It was all over my bowels. I had to have major bowel surgery. So that was the start of the next chapter. So we'd gone from not knowing what it was, being in the dark, to now figuring out what it is, and then figuring out the plan. So then I ended up having major surgery, lots of operations, lots of complications from those operations. So that was a majorly challenging period for me, recovering from the operation. Ended up taking a whole year off work. And having a lot of grief from my from management at the time, because again, they don't understand. The lack of awareness is not just the medical professionals dealing with, or family members or friends. It's also your colleagues, your work colleagues, your bosses, who just think you're just taking time off because I just want to stay at home and paint my nails, not recognize that I was dealing with a real condition. I ended up being taken to an ill health tribunal because I'd taken time off work. They thought that I was just dilly-dallying, and I had to prove my case, all of that. Yeah, it was a bit of a nightmare.
I'm hoping. I know there's been lots of movement in the media saying that government are really putting things forward in terms of menstrual health, premenstrual health and menopause, and I hope that some of these programs and interventions will take account take endometriosis into account and other things. But just on that, how did you feel when you knew that something was wrong but nobody was really listening?
Scared. Depressed, confused, fearful. It's a horrible feeling. There's nothing worse than knowing that something's dreadfully wrong with your body. You want it to do certain things. You just want to be normal, especially when I was younger. Do normal things that young girls do, but you're not able. And it's a highly frustrating thing when you're speaking to people about something, but they just don't get it. Just don't get it. And it's a bit of a silent condition, because I remember, obviously, it's not something that would... So like I said, at best, there were times when it would affect just certain times of the month. And then as it started to get worse, because it's a degenerative condition, and I was affected by it daily on a regular occurrence, then I ended up in hospital and all the rest of it. But prior to that, I would manage it. So when the pain would come, I had to figure out ways. I talk about it in the book, which we'll probably talk about later. I had to figure out a way to fix me when I'm sick, hibernate, stay at home, painkillers, hot water bottles, drinks, and so on. And then once I come out of that dark tunnel, as it were, once, the juggernaut has gone past and I can emerge again, of course, you get up, you dust yourself down, you put your lippy on, and you head into work. And so I remember some colleagues at work, and when I'd explain to them, some people who kind of got it would say, but everything you're telling me, Simone, you don't look like a woman who suffers. And I said, well, I mean, what do? You just gotta get on.
You do.
You gotta get on.
You do. In terms of, I'll ask you this question because I know you're very spiritual. Did it have an effect on your spiritual well-being?
So back then, I wasn't as close to my faith as I am now, but clearly on some level, I did have faith, and I did have a belief, and I think that's obviously what got me through and enabled me to find a way to reverse all the symptoms and self-heal through natural remedies. I think my short answer to that would be no, because I'm one of those stoic individuals. I get that from my mum, and I literally just used to get on with it, Zena. I didn't know any different.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's partly why I went on to start the YouTube channel as well, because honestly, I just felt I wish I knew then what I know now. I would have been such a different person.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I didn't know any different. There was no blueprint. There was no book I could read that would say do X, Y, Z in the situation. So I just did the best I knew how, which was, as I
Yes.
said, once the pain had passed after, that dreadful period, get up, lippy on, head into work, get on with it. Have
Hard
bills to pay.
in.
That's it. Work, work, work,
Yes.
work, work. You gotta work.
Absolutely.
Seriously,
Absolutely. And
that.
working keeps your mental health, in a better position than when you're not. So I get it. I get it. I
Mhm.
get it. Wow. Wow. Kudos to you. Now, you've talked a little bit about how the struggles that you've had growing up with this condition, and not knowing and stuff like that. And I just want to say to you, if you're listening right now, please, please, please never feel embarrassed to badger your way out of a problem. So you ask the first professional and they're not giving you the answer, you go for a second opinion, third opinion. Just keep going, keep going, keep going. Don't stop. Don't stop until you know that you can't go any further. It's really, really important to self-advocate for yourself. No one else is going to save you. You have to do this yourself.
No, solutions are
No.
always out. Gotta remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to ask a few follow-up questions. So you've talked about the challenges of not knowing what's wrong with you. You talked about on the impact it had on your emotional life, your physical life in terms of going to work and stuff like this. Now I want to touch a bit on from the struggle to advocacy, because obviously I know that you are really a strong, strong campaigner, strong advocate for this. And this is an example, people, of someone that's really advocating for what she believes in. And my encouragement to each of you is to advocate for what you believe in. It might not be what I believe in, it might not be what Simone believes in. It doesn't matter, but know that one thing that you could lay your life down for, or literally you could, really go all out and do that one thing, because people are watching you. Not everyone's going to have a platform. Not everyone's going to be a motivational speaker or coach or whatever. But each of us, we all have that unique gift to give to another person. So I thought I'd just give you that. But this leads really nicely to my next question is, from struggle to advocacy, how did you birth the ESCI?
Yes.
Yes, what?
The ESCI channel, as I call it. Yeah. So actually, it wasn't easy because I grew up in a household, Zena. My background is, or rather, my upbringing is one that says you don't divulge your personal affairs. You don't go talking your business to people, especially when it's to do with health, especially when it's to do with a female condition, and dealing with all your intimate private parts and all of that. So that was the reality I was facing at the time. On the one hand, feeling compelled to want to share my story and reach out and help women because I wish I had that help when I was going through difficult times. But on the other hand, feeling like, but this is private. It's my personal story. How do I marry the two?
Yes. I get that exactly. I get that.
Yeah, it was a challenge. I'm not going to lie, but the compelling part of why I needed to do it won, and it just felt so easy. It all happened around a time when I was transitioning actually from, I used to be in the legal profession and I wanted to now delve closely into my creative and media skills. And I remember getting myself a coach. I got myself a coach in the form of an amazing man, Bishop Wayne Malcolm, who is the presiding bishop of the church.
I know that. Yes, the business.
Very blessed and fortunate. The business bishop. So yeah, very blessed and fortunate to be under his tutelage. And he really opened my eyes, in terms of, turning pain into gain, pain into purpose. I remember having a conversation with him one time. I went on one of his retreats and I just downloaded, like you do with your coach, downloaded everything. This is what I'm thinking, this is what I've gone through, and this is what I want to do. It all just came out. And he just looked at me and was like, that's it. The mystery is in your history. I was like,
I like that. I like that. Go on, Bishop. Go on.
Telling you, like, preach. But at the time, it's like, "Ugh, what?
Mhm.
But slowly but surely, it starts to sink in and make sense. And I soon figured out what I needed to do. And I think within a few days or a week or so, I started the channel.
Fantastic.
And my overriding objective was to be able to empower, to share, to connect, to inform, and to edify. That was what was sitting in my head at the time. ESCI. So I just decided to use that acronym, and my initials are triple S. I just thought it, made a nice, name for a channel. I've kind of gone off on a tangent there. What was your question?
I know it's right. You've answered. You've answered you've answered. I've asked you. What kind of made you kind of set it up, and you've kind of given some information. So what I'll ask is, what does the YouTube channel offer other women that they're not finding anywhere else?
I mean, I reached out to women the only way I knew how, and that was to just keep it real, keep it raw.
Yes, yes.
And I literally started from the beginning. So if you go back on my channel, the very, very first episode that I did was literally me talking about as a little girl suffering this unbearable, excruciating pain, the confusion, not knowing what was going on, feeling like some kind of freak, like a hypochondriac. The effect it had on me at school, missing time off school, and all of that stuff. To fast forward, all the things I've mentioned before, everything in between. I even go into, some touch on some personal aspects as well, because as you become a young lady, started dating, you start to get intimate with partners and what have you. It was a painful experience. I can tell you that. It was painful. And I had no idea that that was the underlying reason for it. And this is something, again, that a lot of women and men may not know. So if your partner is struggling or she feels pain, when you get intimate, activities between the sheets and so on and so forth, there might be a reason, there might be a medically recognized condition that is causing these issues. So there's all of that. I touch on all of that on the channel. Like I said, I just kept it real because I felt like if I am going through this or I went through this, thank God it's in the past now, I can't be the only one. So if I just reach one other woman, Zena, who thinks, oh my God, yeah, that's me. I feel quite down and depressed. I get pain every time. Do you know what I mean? That's my job done. So on the YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, they will find a raw, real account of what I went through when I was dealing with it. I was going to say the highs and the lows. There weren't really many highs, I suppose. But you know what I mean. I gave them the whole.
I'm really high right now. Yeah.
Although I did have to take some fairly strong painkillers at some points, which sometimes left me as high as a kite. So I'm not going to lie about it. These are the things that you deal with. Yeah, there's some medication that you can take, sublingual tablets that are so strong. Yes, it helps with the pain, but it can leave you quite zonked. So these are all the issues and challenges that you have to deal with. You're feeling zonked. You're feeling like you're just going to crawl under your duvet, go to sleep, but you have to get up and go to work. So yeah, I just gave that real account from being in the dark, not knowing what it was, coming to semi-light once I got the diagnosis, the tragedy of having all the operations and going through all the complications. I talk about all of that, vlog about it on my channel, and then coming into the light where I eventually, as a result of the doctors not being able to help, I literally had to figure it out myself, right? And that's how I came across an amazing lady who I call my health guru, who, does natural remedies and was able to reverse all the symptoms. So it was great to be able to give that story, of how I went from pain to gaining so much. Prior to that, I didn't even know about natural remedies. I was the one who was skeptical, like, what do you mean natural remedies? I don't know. But thank God I opened my mind. And I guess I had some level of faith at the time to know that, Simone, what have you got to lose? Just trust the process. Give it a go. You've tried everything else. Trust the process. And thank God it worked. It was good. So I always say, I'll just end with this caveat. When women come to my channel and they see the content that I share, especially about, the health aspects, to do your own independent research.
Absolutely.
To do your own due diligence. what may have worked for me may not work for you. Go
Yeah,
independently, obtain the facts and what have you.
yeah,
And obviously,
yeah.
if you want me to share details about, medical professionals within my sphere, I'm more than happy to do so.
That is really good. Thank you so much for sharing that, really quite candidly. I can, lots of women may, experience, painful sex, that you've alluded to, and they'll be thinking there's something wrong with them. They might be thinking, oh, it might be a size issue, or they're thinking all sorts of issues.
All
And
sorts.
also, and some, now that it's kind of more modern civilization, couples will go to sex therapists and stuff like that, and it might
Mhm.
not even be picked up that it's not some women actually will main be in relationships and not like sex for that reason, and that could be
Absolutely.
very frustrating for their partners, who,
Yeah.
and this could cause all sorts of on. So, as you were talking, I could just imagine all sorts of things coming up from the
Issue.
woodwork.
Yeah.
Yes,
And the
yes,
thing
yes.
as well, Zeno, is it's a highly taboo subject, let's face it.
Mm, mm.
Anything to do with, the female, when not anything, but when it comes to that, the female condition, and if it's a medical condition, and then if you're
Mm.
talking about intimacy and all of that, it's quite taboo. And in some
Yes,
cultures, you just don't even talk about it. Somehow it
yes.
magically happens. Somehow
Or you
babies
just
appear, what have you.
you just get
But
on with it.
yeah, this is
Yeah,
it. And
yeah.
yeah, I learned the hard way that, the sooner we discuss these things and we're open about it and transparent,
Mm.
the better it is for all of us. Because it affects not just the woman, but it affects the man as well and the
It affects
family.
everybody and the family, because if the woman's in pain, she's obviously going to be very, very irritable. She might
Mm,
not be able to look out. She's got children. She won't be able to look after the children. She won't be able, there are loads of things. She's going to lose her job or keep changing. There are all sorts of things that can
impacts
happen.
so many things.
Impacts in so many ways. I want to talk a little bit about. I like the fact, and the ESCIE.
I-
Yes, SS. I like that because that's the acronym for what you do, and I like that a lot. The question I
Thank
want to ask you, if you're welcome, is what would you say if you had the ears? Because we've just talked a little bit about how policymakers, government, medical professionals, no one's really listening because obviously they don't understand it. Not or people are not listening enough. Then we know, talking about International Women's Month that's just concluded in March. I want
you.
people to know that it's not just a March thing. You know, campaigning, you know, activism for women issues, is not a it's not a one day affair. It's not a 1 month affair. It's a constant battle to be able to champion women in so many all the various intersectionalities about it. It could be women's health, it could be
Mhm.
race, it could be all sorts of things. And so I mean, I'm happy that we had International Women's Month, and I obviously partook very, significantly. But this is not what it's about. We continue. So I'm really pleased that you've come onto the show and you're talking about this fact, and how debilitating it can be. And I want to ask you, if you had the ears of the policymakers yourself, or the global health leaders, what would you be telling them to do in this area? Like, well,
Listen
that's
more.
listen. What one thing would you want to see? So, what one thing would you want to tell them?
So I'm fortunate to have a lot of doctor friends in my midst. And one thing that a close family friend of mine shared with me recently was the thing that makes his practice stand out to other GP practices, say, is they have this ethos that they treat every patient like a family member. So if the doctors, policymakers, whoever they are, at the end of the day, we're all human beings, right? We all just want to be heard and just given that opportunity to express ourselves and get help,
Yes.
support, what have you. If that person, if we're talking about a politician or a doctor, whoever, if that person sitting in front of you with this issue is coming to you and opening their hearts and saying, this is what's going on, this is how it's affecting me, rather than just that blanket policy. Yeah, brushing it to
Take some
one side.
Panadol.
Yeah, or just not having that sympathy. You may not necessarily have to be empathetic, but at least have the ability to sympathize. If this was your sister, your little sister sitting in front of you, or your mother or cousin, dear friend, somebody you care about sitting in front of you with that issue, how would you treat them? So yeah, just being a bit more caring, compassionate.
That's a very, very, very good answer. How can our listeners get involved, and support this in one way or the other, or amplify the work that you're doing?
Well, they can connect with me on my channel. As I say, I kept it quite raw and real. They would know exactly what happened from start to finish, how I went from pain to incidentally promise. I didn't talk about the book that I wrote about, in this Navigating Life anthology. I shared details about the illness. And I tried to make it as upbeat as possible because in this anthology, the main brief was that you had to not just talk about a challenging time in life, in your life, but end it with how you navigated your way out of it.
Yes.
So that was that for me is what I really want to put out there. I talk about how I went from woe is me to wow is me. And I coined that phrase.
I like that.
I should TM it.
I know you should TM it as I'm taking it. To TM it from woe to wow. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Woe is me to wow is me. Because that was the sort of genesis of, or rather it helped facilitate that whole creative side, to me. The writing, the channel, the YouTube channel. And of course the YouTube channel has now evolved to a platform where I deal with other issues, not just health. I interview amazing women like yourself and other personalities. I meet interesting people who I feel are doing extraordinary things. And I use that channel now to spread the word, as it were. So that's that for me has been it's been a major positive that's come out of the pain. I may not have ever thought about starting a YouTube channel if I didn't suffer with endometriosis. Who knows?
And so, you wouldn't be empathetic enough because you wouldn't understand. Yes, when people talking like, yeah, right. Yeah, thank you for the work that you do. Thank you. It's absolutely laudable. You've taken on a leadership kind of role in what you do, and I'd probably like to call it endo advocacy, if there's any such a word. But you're also on your own healing journey, I would imagine. So how do you balance the emotional load of being a voice while managing your own pain, if there's any?
Well, I mean, thank God, Zena, I am now pain-free. I have been for a number of years. And a number of years, well over, oh my goodness, a decade or so, 2 decades maybe. I think I came across this lady who does natural remedies in 2012. And give or take, and this is the thing that people need to be aware of. There needs to be awareness, there needs to be education. Because people often think, if I take these natural remedies, how long is it going to take? Well, you're going to have to learn to be patient for starters. When you think that you've been carrying around this condition for however many decades. So I had this since I was a child, right? Age 11 is when I first started to notice symptoms. What makes you think that when you take one pill, the pain's just going to go like that?
Right.
So, these are the things that I talk about as well. It was quite interesting to learn so much about the world of natural remedies. And as I said, it just kind of that was like a springboard for so many other things. I then got a taste for writing because this was not part of the plan. So when, as you know, we're on the platform that the amazing Claudine Reed hosts. And when she came up with the idea 3-4 years ago now, I have this idea, ladies. I think maybe we should write stories about ourselves. We'll do it in an anthology. Who's up for it? And it was one of those where, you kind of put your hand up tentatively, you feel drawn, you feel, kind of driven, but you're not quite
What's
sure
this
why.
involve? Yes,
How
no,
am I
yes.
going to do this? How am I going to achieve writing in a book? What are you talking about? But I'm so pleased that I did, because I was already thinking about writing my own book anyway. I've always said I'm going to write my chronicles. And so this was a good kind of intro into the world of book writing. So that's been a fantastically positive experience. Off the back of that,
Yeah.
I was able to also, through some kind of divine intervention, got myself onto the BBC World Service, got interviewed by the BBC, talking about, my contribution in the anthology, and also, my journey with the illness. So that was an amazing platform to be on, the spotlight. It sure was. It sure was. And again, paying to promise, right? Had I not suffered, maybe that would never have happened. I don't know. So these are all, great things that have come from it.
Just as you're talking, it's about seizing opportunities that come your way, isn't it? Seize the opportunities before you have a time to think about it. Because if you think about it, you might, oh no, I'm not going to do it. So that was good, on the BBC. That is absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Looking ahead, thank you. Looking ahead to ESCIE, ISCIE, I think I pronounced it well. Yes?
Okay.
Yes. Have I pronounced it? Okay, that's good.
ESCIE.
Good. Yes, ESCIE. What would you say is next for ESCIE over the next couple of years or so? What do you know? How do you envision it evolving even more and being able to reach out to more women? Because I know you said that your YouTube channel, doesn't just talk about endometriosis, but other things as well. And I'm just wondering, what is your vision for ESCIE now?
So endometriosis, it's like it almost has its own separate space within my ESCIE channel. It's there. It was the genesis of, the YouTube channel. And it's so integral to Simone, the podcaster, the vlogger, whatever you want to call me, that I can't escape that. But obviously there's so many other things that I bring to the table, aside from the endometriosis. So I'm always willing to share, to engage with women, empower them in whatever way, inform them, connect, edify. That's always there. I've interviewed some fantastic people, both, regarding the health condition, and also regarding non-health related matters. So it's a broader platform now from when it started, from its genesis back in 2019. Gosh,
wow.
6 years ago.
Wow.
Goodness me. Yeah, I remember it was just before the pandemic, and it was a good thing that I'd started it then.
Wow.
And we've come a long way. It's really evolved, Zena. It's really kind of taken a whole life of its own. Where at the time I thought, I'll just be doing this thing, reaching out, and talking about health matters. But there's so much more to Simone. So what I'm really excited about now is, because it's unleashed this love for storytelling, because obviously I started doing that using myself as an example. I didn't realize I had such a passion for other people's stories, especially stories with that testimonial aspect. So I want to be able to use the platform more, in conjunction with the services that I provide. So my website is there, for instance, where you'll see the other things that I do by way of services. I do proofreading, editing. I use voice to, also turn books into audiobooks. And I work closely with book authors to help them promote their books or to host their book launches. And that's something that I am supremely passionate about. It brings me so much joy to sit with my clients. I'll go through the consultation with them. I'll offer like a 30-minute free consultation where I just try to understand why the story, or what made you feel the need to write this book. And if I'm going to do the editing for them or proofreading, we'll have a discussion about understanding my writing style and how I edit and all of that stuff. Or if we're doing the book promotion or a hosting, I'm hosting their book launch, for instance, What is your message to your audience? How do you want to be perceived? How do you want your audience to see you, to read you? What makes you think that they'd want to, read your book? How are we going to get that message across to get them engaged and all of this stuff? So that's the vision for the Eski
I like
channel,
that.
SSS,
I like
to
that.
just go from strength to strength, where I'm
I like that.
helping others to reach their audience, helping others to find their voice, to get themselves out there, to become more visible in whichever shape, way, or form I can
Yes,
do that.
yes, yes, yes. Visibility is really, really important. You know,
Hmm.
you can't get anywhere far without being visible. And if there'll be many people that are listening and thinking, oh no, I'm shy. Well, even if you can't speak, get someone else to speak on your behalf. You heard Simone talk about hosting people's book launches,
Yeah,
proofreading people's books. So things that you can't do, get other people, but try in whatever any means possible to make yourself visible and to make yourself be heard. For so
absolutely.
long, we've been, ears have been deafened where we are, and you need those ears to be plucked open to hear what your story is, where you're trying to get to, how people can help you, and also how you can help other people as well. I like, as you shared I like your vision for the future is really quite big, very big, very, very big. Taking people on that book journey, that is good. That's excellent.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Absolutely. And as you know, I've
Excellent.
got strong ties in the US, Zena. So for me, literally, the world is my oyster.
Yes, yes,
A lot of
yes.
people, a lot of our sisters and brothers across the pond think that the US is the world, and you can see why.
Mm.
It's a huge country, and I know that there's an audience, there's a market out there just waiting
Yeah.
for the SSS Stardust to land.
Yes. You know,
Yeah, coming to a
I,
town near you.
yes, yes, yes. I really enjoy, I just before we come to a close, I'd like you to give our listeners, some final words of encouragement. What message would you leave with a woman who is silently battling endometriosis at the moment? Or anything else? And you notice, I just said it quickly before you could see whether I could pronounce it or not.
I'm like,
you
is that
know,
a new condition she's just?
my brother, my older brother, one of my brothers said to me years ago, you can call banana banana as long as you know how to spell it. I know how to spell endometriosis. Yeah, I said it well. When I say it slowly, I
You
speak
did.
fast. I speak fast. And so, what message, would you like to leave with anyone that is suffering silently? So anyone who's in that 1 in 10, which is quite a few people. You might be listening, or you might be listening on the replay, or someone, a friend, a sister, a colleague at work. What is that message?
Um, Firstly, just a quick tip. Endometriosis, to be fair, is one of those unusual words. It's got 6 syllables. So usually, and I'm a daughter of a school teacher, right? So I grew up with grammar, syllables, all that stuff. Breaking it up usually helps. So if you just think endometriosis,
Endometriosis.
endo,
And and
endo, me,
endo me. So it's like do re mi. Sorry.
absolutely, metriosis.
Endometriosis.
That's it.
Endometriosis.
There you go.
Endometriosis.
Yay!
Endometriosis sounds like Sorry, that's Mary
Now you're
Poppins.
getting carried away. But yeah, coming back to
Espialidocious.
you.
Yes. No, so going back to the question, what final words of empowerment? I mean, thank you for that. I mean, I like to learn, and you've taught me this. And once I go off air, you best believe I'm going to be trying this again. But I'm not going to say it anymore, just in case I don't get it right. But I will say it one more time. So, final words of empowerment, Simone. What kind of message would you like women who are actually silently battling endometriosis, and where they're feeling unseen, unheard, and exhausted? What would you like to tell them?
So I can always only speak from my personal experience, right? Um, sorry, I might need to just pop up. Can you just give me 2 seconds? Do you mind? I
No,
just need to pop
no
up.
problem. No problem.
Thank you.
So while Simone is just, these things happen, I'm going to practice with you. You can put it in the chat where you're listening from, and you can practice yourself. Endometriosis. Endometriosis. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Endometriosis. I can't say it when I say it fast. Okay. Endometriosis. Now, I'm, put in a chat what you've taken, your takeaways, the things that you're going to do. Do you know anyone that is going through endometriosis at the moment? Have you experienced it? How can we help you in this regard? Are you going through something painful that you can turn into promise and really help and impact your world? Your world could be just the next person. It could be your next door neighbor. It doesn't have to be a massive world. But what is that one thing that you can take as an inspiration from Simone's story to take your own story and turn it into a promise? Put it in the chat, put it in the comments. I'll also want to say that it's important, like I always say, it's important to speak up. Always important to speak up. If you're not being listened to by person number one, by a doctor, by a teacher, by a lawyer, by someone in your church, by a friend at work, go to someone else. But it's important to speak up. Never, ever let a situation make you feel as if you have to be muted, or you have to be toned down, or you have to shrink to fit. You are wearing the shoe. You know how that condition, if it's endometriosis or anything else, you know how it impacts you. And Simone's back. So, final words.
Thank you. Thanks
No,
for being
that's
with me.
okay.
So yeah, I think I was saying, for me, I can only speak from my experience, and I guess two things spring to mind. One, no matter how dark the situation seems, no matter how dark that tunnel, just know that there's always an answer. My mum always says the longest road has a turn. There's so many adages that I get from that woman. And yeah, the longest road has a turn. So that's how it seemed at one point. Seriously, it just felt unrelenting. It felt hopeless. It felt, yeah, like how am I going to resolve the situation? How can I get this to stop? You want your body to do one thing, it's doing another. But just know, and again, I guess that comes to having unshakable faith. I didn't realize at the time that, yeah, I was always a woman of faith. I wasn't consciously, a woman of faith back then. But many years later, it became a conscious decision when I decided to, follow Christ. But yeah, I think ultimately that's the underlying message I'd like to give out there. And just don't suffer in silence. I did that for a while. It didn't get me anywhere. It didn't get me anywhere. There's something in business. Yeah, shame. What's it called? Taboo, what have you? Oh, I don't talk about that.
Yeah.
No one is saying to go spreading everything, but again, just being in tune, and sometimes intuitively you just know what it is you need to be sharing with people.
Yes.
Be able to get the help and support that you need.
Yes.
There's something in business that says closed mouths don't get fed. Closed mouths don't get helped.
Absolutely. 100%.
I'd like to put a spin on that.
100%.
Closed mouths don't get fed. Closed mouths don't get helped. If I didn't open my mouth and decide, actually, you know what? I hear what the doctors are saying. I have a lot of respect for the NHS doctors, but you don't have the answers to everything. I need to go and find out and speak to other people and get the support that I need. That was my attitude.
Don't be afraid to speak to someone else. Don't be afraid.
You've got to. Wow. And underlying all that, Zena, I think it's the faith aspect. As I say, it's always been underlined. I was brought up in a Christian household, so obviously, I guess I remember my grandmother of blessed memory. Another famous thing she used to say all the time was, "Give the world the sunshine, tell Jesus the rest."
I like that. I like that. I love it. Love it. Give the world the sunshine. Tell Jesus the rest. I love it. I love it. Love it.
Yeah,
Love it. I
yeah.
love it.
And
I
that just goes to, the resilience of us females sometimes. It's difficult, it's challenging. And yeah, life can seem hard at times, but you've got to just keep going, put that smile on, get on with
Yes.
it, do what you
Yes.
need to do behind the scenes. Don't
Yes.
forget, learn the
Yes.
lesson,
Yes.
and keep the faith. Keep the
Yes.
faith always,
Fantastic.
always. There's always a greater being out there looking out for you. Remember that.
Yes. Yes. Fantastic. Oh, Simone, thank you so, 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 so much. I feel like giving you a hug. Would have poured another cup of tea, but the tea, I think it's a little bit cold now. But
Say,
um,
we've been busy
I,
chatting and enjoying our conversation.
I know, I know. We must do this again. This has been absolutely phenomenal, incredible, really opening up my eyes. And I know that the listeners will say the same thing on this condition called endometriosis.
There you go. Woo, look at you.
Look at me at the end of the
You
show.
nailed it.
I nailed it. So I just want to say healing begins when we give pain a voice. So give that pain a voice. And you don't have to, it might not be you, it could be someone else but don't keep your mouth shut. I'm so glad that you guys have watched. And for those of you that are going to watch on the replay, remember, International Women's Month was last month, but we are still women championing, advocating and sharing as much as possible so that other women that come behind us can actually walk on our shoulders or step on our shoulders and soar. That's what it's about, ladies. Thank you so, so much. This has been me, Dr. Z, with a cup of tea with me, where I spotlight amazing, phenomenal, incredible women like the amazing, phenomenal Simone Sawyer. Did you see how soft her voice is? Very serene and doing amazing
I
things.
love all the different names you've given me, by the way. Simone Sawyer, Simone Sawyer Smart, Simone Smart Scott, Simone Smart Scott Sawyer. It's all good.
It's
So long
all
as the S
SS.
is there, that's okay.
Absolutely. And if you want to know how to find that, I'll just put that one more time so you can see her website is there. You can also catch her on Instagram. And more importantly, you can watch some of her shows, her episodes on the amazing, let me see where it is, YouTube. That's her LinkedIn, Instagram, and one more to the YouTube, which I know that people would want. Let's see, I had it before. Where has it gone? Oh, there you are. And YouTube. So you can connect in any of these places. Thank you so much, Simone. Thank you so much. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to A Cup of Tea with Dr. Z, your reinvention queen. We hope you've been motivated and inspired to go out there and conquer any obstacles and issues you may face. You can find Dr. Zena on all social platforms. Until next time, remember, you're not alone.